covered the news with an outside that would expect you. Native journalists ranges from national security issues like Gitmo's Mohammed 9/11 files, immigration, like what's going on now at the border, and foreign policy issues. She is the TV correspondent, CW News 6 in San Diego, as well as One America News Network. Kimberly, I bet you that you're YouTubing down the river as we speak, and also streaming live at periscope.com. How are you?
I believe you're correct.
It's kind of funny streaming, stream, and then YouTube, kind of, that sort of reminds me of corn on the river. Rubber tire, what do you call it? The inside of the tire. I'll be okay. Hey, how are you doing there?
I'm doing fine. How about yourself?
All right. And, boy, so much going on there with the kids. And isn't it amazing? You kind of have to give the Democrats credit. And, of course, it all has to do with the mainstream media, in my opinion, 90% of it.
Yeah.
The way they can just, twist knobs and things like that and come up with the agenda that they decide it's time to push. Whether it's using the kids for the Second Amendment or using the kids to open the borders up or whatever, you have to give them credit because they did take the conversation away from all the hanky-panky going on in the Russian collusion investigation, right?
Yeah. This is another tactic, of course. The media is well versed in how to change a narrative. We remember when the immigrants from the Middle East trekked to Greece and in European nations, and little kids were drowning on the boat treks over to Europe, and how that dominated the headlines for weeks. Obviously, we're compassionate people. We don't want to see things like that. But what you're seeing, I think, now this summer with this uptick in I guess, unaccompanied minors, they're finding out that the majority of these kids aren't coming with their parents, so there's no family reunification to be had here. They're finding that this is a good political tool, and these pictures are looking very poorly upon ICE and the Border Patrol agents. And that's just, I mean, it's very sad that this is what they're trying to do in changing the narrative again in this country.
Yeah, but you know what? Speaking of the pictures, Kimberly, look at the pictures under Obama, and
Yeah.
for a while they were using those pictures until they got caught, and all of a sudden they found out, oh, wait a minute, we've got pictures from the Obama era. We need to
Yeah.
move on here and let's go. And then I saw some pictures where there are pool tables and all that stuff, and I don't know if that's fake news or not either, but
Yeah.
here's the other thing about separation from children. We know for a fact that some parents, in other countries, they will pay the human smugglers simply to get their child across the border because, it's sort of like, yeah, I'm going to be separated from my child, but he's going to grow up in America and he'll never have to want for anything. And now they were even mentioning DNA. Now, I don't think that's going to happen.
Well,
Apparently, DNA must be really expensive. We got a case going on that occurred in Chino, California, where there was a guy named Cooper,
yeah.
and his lawyers keep saying, do the DNA and you'll find out he did do it. And,
Yeah.
and it's a standoff. So do you know, is DNA so expensive that it's out of the question? I don't think so, because
Well,
you can order it over online, can't you?
yeah, well, I mean, we have ancestry.com. Obviously, we see commercials on that every day.
Right.
I think that the challenge, I think, for the federal government in this particular issue is, okay, they say that, that family members maybe somewhere in New York are related to these minors that are brought across the border. We don't know how long it would take for the federal government to go out and actually round up these individuals and then bring them in to get them DNA tested. And so it does become a labor intensive and a cost, the labor cost would make it probably cost prohibitive. But again, this is a situation where all summer long or all spring long, we watched the caravans coming up through Mexico. This was
Oh,
something that
yeah.
was completely planned. And now we're
All right,
seeing,
hold it right there, and we'll get into the planned attempt by the caravans when we return. Kimberly Dvorak, spell that last name, Dvorak, as you'll find her on Facebook, at periscope.com, YouTube. She is absolutely everywhere. And you can also read her reports at thekdreport.com. CRN Jeff Wilder with my guest Kimberly Dvorak. Hey, put program note tomorrow, encore broadcast with Tom DeWeese and Ron Ewer. And back to the one and only Kimberly. You gotta, I'm telling you, isn't it amazing that, front page coverage from, well, we'll call it front, what do I want to call it? Front electronic coverage. And and front pages from the mainstream media on the caravans. Boy, I'm telling you, they just riled us all up. And I never heard about any misrepresenting the children. In other words, there wasn't any cruelty, right? Coming across that hot desert by the children and those parents doing that. You never saw that.
Yeah.
So they certainly have their agenda, and give them credit because they know how to stir up people like you and I. Take it away, Kimberly.
Well, I mean, it's as I reported and wrote in my article this week that if you're a parent and you leave your kid in a car and it gets hot, you lose your kids. Right now, we have a drug epidemic in our country where people are overdosing and being incarcerated in large numbers because of their drug addictions. They're not taking their children with them. Those kids are going into foster care. And what the unknown secret, or maybe it's not, it shouldn't be a secret, is that once family members try to petition to get those kids out of foster care so they can stay with grandma, or they can stay with Auntie M, or they can stay with their uncle while their parent is serving their time behind bars, the families have to pay for the attorneys, and they've got to jump through a lot of hoops so they can get those kids out of foster care so they can take care of their family members. And what we're seeing now with the illegal migrants that are at the border, they're being taken care of. And you're seeing actors like George Clooney come out and say, I'm going to donate $100,000 of my money to help these minors and help these children out. Well, where's his care, and where's his thought process when it comes to American kids that are suffering? And there are hundreds of thousands of parents and kids that are homeless right now today. And we don't seem to care too much about that. And that doesn't seem to make the evening news.
Hey, I had a news item. Bloomberg says he's going to donate $80 million to get Democrats elected. Why doesn't he take $40 million and give it to the children? The other thing, a while ago we were talking about DNA and the children. As I understand, well, I know for a fact that I've been reading on this, each administration has a problem because whenever the parents are gone all of a sudden and they have the children and they're trying to send them into a home, they've been given an address. They send them there, take them there, and there's no such animal living at that address. And so they don't know what to do with them. And every administration has been faced with that. But yet they come across like, they're the Gestapo. It's like rounding up the Nazis. And I think it was MSNBC, maybe that's what it was, or one of those over there. And they actually used the thing like, they're taking the children to the showers. Can you believe that, Kimberly?
Well, I mean, I think that we saw also an interview yesterday, at least I read an article where an actual Holocaust survivor came out and stated that he was just could not believe that the media was trying to say that this had something to do with Nazism, and that because he actually survived that and went to work camps and was in concentration camps, lost family members there, and said that this is absolutely ludicrous for the media to use this as a talking point. And he went on to state that he feels sorry for the children and he thinks that we should do something, but that the media was being reckless with their language. And anything that this president does, it doesn't matter. Barack Obama did this, it was okay. Now Trump does it, well, it's because it's Trump. It's not okay suddenly. And it really is. I mean, it's a tough issue, but I think that until this country, until the world recognizes that Mexico and Central America and a large part of South America are ungovernable regions of this world and aren't they don't have laws that they're enforceable, and we're looking at these situations happening over and over. These people continue to come up to the border because they know they're going to get in, and they found out that the latest fix is just bring a kid with you and you'll get in, whether it's your kid or not. Just bring them on up and it's okay. And it shouldn't be okay, because look at what they're doing to these kids. I mean, in the process, look what they're suffering to get here.
And also, it's using the kids. Perhaps I'm gonna give them some advice, okay? And this will be for the ones that are wanting to come across here and declare asylum and all that stuff. Bring a little tiny puppy with you, and then you're going to hit almost all of Americans. Oh boy, it's amazing sometimes how people are more concerned with the care of animals than they are real kids. That's just the way it works, though.
Yeah. But look at our veterans. Look the way we treat some of our veterans. I mean, we have 22 suicides a day or something around that number of veterans every day. Where's the care for that? Where's the worry and concern for them? And I just think
people are saying, you want to take care of the veterans, and where all of a sudden did you come up with the money to take care of all of this that's going on the border when you've got all the homeless and the veterans? But Trump mentioned last night in his thing in Minnesota that he did do the executive order, or did get bill passed, where you have if you can't get into a veterans hospital, you go to a regular doctor and we pay for it, and that's fantastic.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, this president, I mean, and the troops love him, and clearly he loves the troops, and he's doing everything he can to get them the help that they need, get them the resources that they need. And that's an incredible accomplishment for this president. And I don't think a lot of people necessarily saw that coming from him, but that's exactly what's happening here. The president's looking at the people. And if there's any indication as to what this issue is going to do for the country, this immigration and unaccompanied minors, family reunification, do they go to jail? Do they get returned home? You watch how many people went to that rally 2 days ago in Minnesota. And when you see
the one they had, it was last night.
Yeah, last night.
They had to move it, Kimberly. I hate to keep interrupting you, but they had to move the rally into a larger stadium because there were so many people. And then he was reporting, they never show the thing, and they actually, I know Fox, that's when I was watching, they did, and I saw another network actually showing the rest of the people in the Coliseum or whatever it was, the stadium. Anyway, and then they said, Trump said, and there's thousands outside. The actual estimate was given today of how many were there, Minnesota, and it was 9,000.
Yeah. And people waiting in line. I've been to these events and I've walked around the crowds outside that stood in line knowing they were not going to get in, but wanted to be there. And that's grassroots enthusiasm that this president still is capable of getting. And I think that sometimes the media, I mean, I guess they still haven't figured out Trump or learned, what the president's doing and how he goes about manipulating them when they think that the media thinks they're manipulating the president with this immigration issue. Majority of the people on this, I mean, you can look at these pictures, but they overplay their hand each and every time, the media. And when you look at the overplaying of your hand, common sense will tell you, like, good heavens, these are kids that are traveling 2,000 miles through Mexico to get up here. Who's the adult supervision that's allowing this to happen? And why, if we are very upset about this, why aren't we down in Central America trying to help them be better countries? Maybe like highlighting at the UN that maybe there's some human rights abuses that are taking place in these countries. Why aren't we doing that? Why aren't we investing that so they don't make that harrowing trip to America in the first place?
I'm going to tell you something. Alex Newman, I think you're familiar with him, and he's going to be my guest this coming Monday, all right? And boy, he's always got these blockbuster stories, but this is China selling human parts, okay? Where let's say you need something to
A
go in your
kidney.
body to help you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
A kidney.
Yeah, kidneys, everything, eyeballs. I mean,
Yeah.
it's unbelievable. But the thing is, they have to destroy the person they're taking it out of, once they've done it. And it is unbelievable. Hey, a while ago, you brought up the corruption, okay, in Colombia, Mexico, and all that. Did you know Mexico is a couple of weeks away from an election?
Oh,
And
yeah.
you're probably aware of this because you're aware of just about everything. Did you know there have been, and this was 2 weeks ago, I think I had the story, 113 candidates have been killed in Mexico so far, people that were running for election.
Yeah.
113.
Yeah.
I think I'd want to get out of that country too.
Yeah, I think you can't fault the people fleeing these ingovernable or ungovernable regions, Mexico, Central
Yeah.
America, South America. I mean, Middle East. I mean, that people are fleeing, horrific, things around the world every day. But the United States, we're spending trillions in the Middle East. They're not our neighbors. It really shouldn't concern us too much, other than human rights abuses, and that we ought to let them kind of, let the European Union kind of handle that a little bit more because they're their neighbors. We ought to be focusing some of our attention on our southern neighbors because there's a reason people are coming here. It's not because Mexico's a great place to live. People are coming from Central America not because it's a great place to vacation. They're coming because they're fleeing and they're seeking economic stability. And unfortunately for them, they're applying for political asylum, and it strictly states in
Yeah.
political asylum economic freedom is not a reason to flee your country. You have to be fleeing, political violence, meaning that your government is going after you. And the majority of these countries, it is not the government that's going after the people, it's the cartels
Yeah,
and the
really.
transnational gangs. Yeah.
I saw a lady they were talking about on some channel. It may have been One American News, but she was asking for asylum because her husband slapped her a couple of times or something like that.
Yeah.
Hey, you were talking about the bias in the mainstream media. And I went to somewhere, I think it was just news sources, and they give you a whole bunch of lists. And the very first two caught my eyes. The first one was NBC, and the second one was Fox News, reporting on Trump signing his executive order, okay? And the headline from NBC, Kimberly, said, Trump signs order stopping his policy of separating families.
Yeah.
And then on Fox, it was Trump signs executive orders to stop family separation.
Yeah.
But you see how NBC still has to slant it. It's not his policy. It wasn't his policy. He was simply following the law.
It's
you know
like,
what I'm saying?
yeah, it's like
But it's
DACA.
like all of a sudden he becomes president.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Go ahead.
exactly like DACA, where President Obama, after years of like getting, heckled from the left and from all of the, Hispanic organizations, you have to do something. You got to do something about the Dreamers. You have to do something. And so after all these years of saying he can't sign an executive order, this is a congressional issue, he signs an executive order. And then all of a sudden, when it expires, because that's what the President Obama did, was put a sunset date on these issues. Trump simply said, well, I'm not going to renew it because I've been told it's against the law to do so, which is exactly true, that it's against the law. And this is why we're seeing a lot of President Obama's, issues completely evaporate, issue after issue. He's put into place everything through executive order, and now what we're watching is Congress completely fall apart.
Yeah, in your report, in fact, this is on page 1. You talk about, how the adults bringing children skyrocketed. You say Obama administration, it went from 15,000 in the fiscal year 2013 to more than 75,000 in 2017. And, he had the magnet. It was turned up full. He kept saying, y'all come, I don't care.
Yep.
And listen, when you get to the border, if you look young, all you got to do is say, I'm a dreamer or something. And
I'm a minor. You just say I'm a minor.
They got the orders.
Yeah. And again, it's, the pictures, when you look at some of these things, we saw the first lady travel down to the region and go to this facility that's taking care of these kids, which I think was a good optic for the president to have his wife go down and look at this. I mean, again, these are tragic pictures, but as long as we continue to allow these scenarios to unfold, it's going to increase. This is an incentive for people. Now they know that their kids can get here and get across the border. Their lives are clear. And then they'll eventually become Americans and bring their parents and their brothers and sisters and all of that here. It's a never ending cycle. Somebody has to somebody has to like come up with a solution. And today we've seen Congress completely abdicate its authority and walk away from immigration essence, not working on this issue at all.
Well, and they're having problems, because we still got the Rhino there, Paul Ryan and all the others. I think there were 21 that were not agreeing with Trump, on this immigration bill. But let me tell you, just out of curiosity, I just went back, and I don't know how to get it to go back to the first story. Okay. But anyway, I'll open up AOL. And if you always want to see, the slanted version and the left wing, news, just check out, their first two or three stories. And I see here that she's going down to the border, and they're calling it unannounced, like it was a surprise, and they weren't prepared for it. They they always come up with something instead of make a surprise visit or well-deserved visit or something like that. No, unannounced. She just decided to do it on her own. Who did she think she is? Yeah. All right, Kimberly, we got to take a break. We're going to be back. Wrap things up. It is Kimberly Dvorak. I don't know if she's wearing white today, black, red, but I'll find out, because that's what we got to know when we return. It is VKDReport.com, San Diego6.com, One American News Network, and streaming live at Periscope.com and also on YouTube. Kimberly Dvorak. CRN got louder with my guest, the lovely Kimberly Dvorak. And by the way, Kimberly, when I say lovely, I follow you on Facebook and all that, and I know that I want to tell the listeners that if you go to VKDReport.com, you get these reports that she and I do. She posts the whole interview on there. And the interesting and the good thing is because I interrupt the guests so much that it's a little hard to hear me on there. And I know you haven't had one complaint about that. Okay.
That's a good one. That's the way I get the final word in, right?
Yes, I looked at the one we did last week there, and I said, well, that's a lovely outfit you have there. The white outfit, and so many. And she's such a great golfer too. The lady is just so talented. It's you're fortunate that I am such good friends with her that I get to bring her on as frequently as I do. So
oh, you're too sweet now. Now you're gonna know, and I'm gonna go out there and just be full of myself the rest of the day.
Oh yeah. Well, and if you run into an engineer that can figure out how to bring my level up on your report. Hey, we were talking about, the smugglers and all these people that, are trying to come in here on false pretenses. But in your article, you're talking about, the smugglers also coach these people, about the things they're supposed to say, which sort of good, because you do study for a driver's license test, but it's bad if they're cheating the system,
Yeah, it is. And again, the sad thing is right now the largest number of children, guest children under age of 17 that are coming up. The majority of them right now are coming from Guatemala, and it's another one of those ungovernable nations. And they're being coached as to what to say. So when they get to the border, that they talk to a border patrol agent, and I'm fearful for my life. I've fled violence. The drug cartel said they're going to kill me. The government said they're going to kill me. They all come up, and if you talk to Border Patrol, they're like, it's really quite interesting. And when they write down the report in their notes, unlike the FBI with their 302s, they're stating that they're basically all saying the same thing. They're all saying the identical thing, which, is indicative that somebody is telling them what to say and how to say it so that they can get the asylum or they can get into the system here and stay. And the question becomes then that, okay, that's one thing. We study for driver's license, we study for other issues. Until this country figures out a way to solve and at least engage these other countries to keep their citizens in their countries, this is going to be something that whenever it's a political issue and they need to change the narrative, this is going to be the go-to issue because it's
Mhm.
easy to put these pictures out there. They do this all the time. The media put pictures of kids, blame it on the politician. I just think that with Trump, his ability to go back at the media and make them look bad and really label the media with fake news, that when it comes time to vote and when it comes time to enthusiasm, that it looks like he still has quite a bit of enthusiasm on his side. So I just think that the media has got to wake up and actually cover real stories, and the Democrats really need to start figuring out what they want to do on these issues and start working with the president, or start putting out and introducing their own bills, because they're doing absolutely nothing but criticize this president, and people are getting kind of tired of it. I
Yeah,
believe you're seeing the numbers lower on cable news. People just don't care anymore. They don't want to watch.
yeah. Well, and it's because it's Trump, the one that defeated Hillary. And the Obama administration prosecuted 500,000 illegal immigrants
Yeah.
and separated the families in process. And so did the Bush
And they had
administration.
no
But
problem. They had no problem with
yeah,
that.
never Trump. Okay. Hey, thank you very much, Kimberly. Look forward to our next visit. Kimberly Dvorak, Dvorak. Go to all of this. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Coming up next, Jim